In what may be one of the most insane things anyone could say when trying to run for president of the United States, Joe Biden said at a recent campaign rally he was going to raise your taxes. Elizabeth Warren didn't want to admit that Medicare for All would raise your taxes, and Bernie qualified his statement when asked, yes, your taxes will go up, but costs will go down. Because no one wants to pay more taxes. Yet Joe Biden thought it was a great idea to say to a rally that he was actually going to raise your taxes. Now, here's the reason why. Back in 2019, Matthew Iglesias of Vox pointed out that progressives did a great job in convincing America Trump did not give them a tax cut. We can complain about the $1.9 trillion deficit, but the reality is Americans did get a tax cut. And if you trust PolitiFact, which sometimes you shouldn't, it mostly went to upper middle class and upper class people. So a lot of the tax cuts did go to people who are making more than $100,000 a year, but around 10% went to, middle class, and a little, actually, I would say about 20% or so went to the middle class of varying salaries. And we'll take a look at the data. But because of this misinformation, you now have people cheering, or I shouldn't necessarily say cheering, but willfully accepting someone saying who's going to raise their taxes. I want to play for you this audio because you just need to hear it. It's hilarious. And then I'll show you why people are essentially cheering for this stuff.
Boy, how many of you did really well with that $1.9 trillion tax cut that increased? Really in good shape, right? Really changed your, well, you did. Well, that's good. I'm glad to see you're doing well already. And I'm good. But guess what? If you elect me, you're not going to have your taxes are going to be raised, not cut, if you benefit from that.
You are going to have your taxes raised, not cut, if you benefited from that. I don't think Joe Biden has any idea what he's talking about. Can I also point out that I am absolutely flabbergasted this man won in South Carolina when he probably didn't even know he was in South Carolina, let alone running there. I'm not trying to be mean, but the dude literally doesn't know where he is. Like, way too many times he's been claiming he was in the wrong place. The dude is just not all there. Now take a look at this story from the Washington Free Beacon back on April 9th, 2019. Vox writer praises progressives for misleading Americans on tax cuts. Vox writer Matthew Iglesias praised progressive groups for misleading Americans about their taxes Monday. In a tweet, Iglesias praised the messaging success over President Donald Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The president signed the bill into law in December 2017. At the time, then Speaker of the House Paul Ryan said the bill would save families making $73,000 per year more than $2,000. Progressive groups did a really good job of convincing people that Trump raised their taxes, Iglesias said. At the time, Democratic Party messaging insisted the bill was a catastrophe for the middle class. Governor Andrew Cuomo said the middle class got crumbs from the table. Senator Chuck Schumer claimed the proposal socks it to the middle class. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said 86 million middle-class families will see a tax increase. That is not true. In February, Senator Kamala Harris called the tax change a middle-class tax hike. Now, why would they be lying? Because they don't have anything to offer. So they have to pretend like things are worse than they really are. But what I will never understand is that these people think they can look you in the eye and lie to your face when you're enjoying the benefits of what the tax cuts have wrought. I'll give you I like doing analogies with ice cream. You might know, you might be familiar with this. So imagine you're sitting there licking a sweet, delicious chocolate ice cream, and they're literally screaming in your face, you never even got the ice cream. In fact, Trump took your ice cream away, and you're like, but I'm holding it. That's what I don't get. How can you walk up to someone who's literally holding a thing and say, you never got that? It's like, but I did. I have it. And what's even crazier, people believed it. People actually believed it. When their tax returns came back and they were like, my refund this year is lower. It's like, yes, because you paid less taxes, dude. People don't get it. They don't get it. The Washington Post gave the latter claims 2 and 4 Pinocchios, respectively. According to the Tax Policy Center, the average middle-class family is keeping almost $1,000, which would have previously gone into government coffers. Monday, Iglesias admitted the bill had in fact been a success. despite Democratic insistence to the contrary. The facts say a clear majority got a tax cut. Nobody likes to give themselves credit for this kind of messaging success, but progressive groups did a really good job of convincing people that Trump raised their taxes when the facts say a clear majority got a tax cut. To this day, they're now lying to your face. You know, it's just they're spitting on you. They are spitting on you in condescension, calling you stupid to your face. Joe Biden saying, how many of you benefited? Well, one person was like, I actually did. Well, we're going to raise your taxes. So everyone got a tax cut under Trump. And now he's coming to you, lying to you, and now saying, if you got a benefit, we're going to take that away. Who are you talking to? I guess people who are dumb enough to vote for Joe Biden. CNBC reporter John Harwood made a similar observation Monday. He cited an NBC Wall Street Journal poll showing just 17% of Americans think their taxes were cut, despite clear evidence to the contrary. No wonder Trump GOP tax cut is so unpopular, Harwood said. Replying to Iglesias later Monday, Harwood speculated as to why many Americans may not realize they benefit from the cuts. He pointed to a change in withholding tables, which determine how much the IRS keeps from each paycheck to pay taxes at the end of the year. He said they were helped by the fact that tax cuts for most people were A, modest, and B, concealed by new withholding tables that dribbled them out week by week in tiny amounts. So that's true. And I'll come back to read this last little bit, but I want to show you something. This is a PolitiFact story stated on January 2nd, 2019, in an interview on MSNBC's Rachel Maddow show. Oh, so basically the fringe psychotic conspiracy channel for the left. Warren said, with the Republican tax law, the rich folks got 1.5 trillion. Warren overstates the share of tax cuts for the rich. So this is over a year ago. Key takeaways. The 1.5 trillion is one main government estimate of the net rise in deficits due to the tax acts over 10 years. The Congressional Budget Office now predicts deficits will go up 1.9 trillion. So there you go. There's Joe Biden's figure. Let me show you what PolitiFact says. Who gets what? 10-year distribution of tax cuts under the 2017 tax law. We can see that for people who are making 10 to 30,000, your taxes actually went up a little bit. That's fair to point out. The lower class took a hit on this. That's not cool. Not cool at all. If you make 40,000 or more, you did get a tax cut. If you make 50,000 to 100,000, you're receiving each of these brackets gets about 10. So that's about 20% of the tax cuts. Now, if you make 100 to 200, 31% of tax cuts went to you, and 200 to 500, 30% went to you. It is fair to say most people will see a tax cut, but yes, the lion's share goes to people making more than $100,000 a year. It's not perfect, but the issue is about the percentage of the taxes being paid. If rich people are making more money, a tax cut will mean they save a lot more money. But the point is still, it is fair to point out that rich people got a big tax cut. So if Joe Biden wants to point out that people making less than 10,000 to 30,000 a year aren't getting that big benefit, and you can point that out, that's absolutely important to say. I agree. But a lot of people benefited who are not rich people. Listen, if you're working a trade, you might be making more than $30,000 a year. Okay. So I think this is bad. We need to figure out why poor people have seen a net, they're getting negative in terms of the tax cuts. But come on, people making $30,000 a year or more, you did get a tax break. Criticize the large portion of this going to wealthier individuals, 100%. But don't lie to people. That's what I can't stand. Why is it difficult to say Donald Trump's tax cuts, for the most part, are benefiting upper middle class to upper class people? Middle class people did get a tax cut. Lower class people got hurt on this, and we can probably do a better job. Imagine if that was the message Democrats came out with. Because you're going to look someone in the face who's making more than 30,000 a year, which is a lot of people in this country. I think the median is well above 30. I think it's like 38, in which case more than half the country or more are making that amount. Now, the average income is high because we have a ton of rich people. But the point is, should someone be unhappy because rich people got a tax cut? So if you make $100,000 a year and you are getting a big tax break, should someone who makes less than $100,000 a year be upset? No. And let me tell you why, using their own argument. You see, right now, Elizabeth Warren is talking about student debt forgiveness. And there are a lot of people on the right saying things like, why should you get $50,000 paid by the government if I had to pay my student loans? And the left says, just because we're going to do better doesn't mean you will be hurt. A net positive for me is not a net negative for you. The funny thing about this, I gotta say, is that student debt forgiveness would require taxing people who make more money. So yes, it would be a net negative. But there's one meme I saw from the left. I gotta admit, it's actually pretty good. It was the trolley problem. Are you familiar with the trolley problem? The trolley problem is a train is coming and it's headed towards, on the track, there's a fork in this, and you can pull the lever to move the train. It's headed towards 5 people. If you pull the lever, it will only kill the one person. The trolley problem is essentially, will you choose to kill that one person to save the 5? Because your actions will result in that person's death. So anyway, the meme they made was, it was the 5 people were on the front track that were going to die no matter what. And you could pull the lever to save the one person. That's the joke. The point they were trying to make with this, and I saw some high profile progressives were saying, if people were already hurt by student loans, we should still make sure the train stays off the track so it won't hurt any more people. You're right. I think it is unfair. I do believe in student debt forgiveness, just not the way they're doing it. I think we should totally suspend interest. People will pay down their principals, but it won't accrue. And we'll do it in a very simple way. So you still got to pay it back, but it won't. We're going to get rid of that, predatory aspect of it. So you pay back what you owe, what your initial loan was. So there will be forgiveness there, but a compromise, right? I agree with that. And that's why I also agree with the tax cuts. I get it. There's a deficit. That's a problem. We're hoping that increase in trade volume will actually generate more tax revenue and offset that. I don't know if that'll actually happen. That's the plan. Here's the ultimate point. The left simultaneously argues, why should you be mad that I'm getting helped? But then Joe Biden and all these other progressives come out and complain that rich people are getting tax cuts. So what? A tax cut for the rich isn't hurting you. The government, oh, wait, you want to play that game again? You can argue, but if my benefits get cut because we don't have the tax revenue for it, that is hurting me. Yet the thing there is, you're arguing for the right to take money from someone else to pay for something for you. Isn't that a big problem? Now look, I actually agree with social programs. And I always want to say this, it's very important. And then I got some other Democrat stuff we can go over to wrap up the segment. But the problem we have with social programs is that they can't die. They can't end. If we create a program that says, hey, we're going to allocate X amount of dollars to help people who are unemployed, at some point we need to assess that program and end it if it's bloated and broken. And we don't. We just keep making it bigger. And that's why we keep needing more and more taxes to cover these things. You'd think a percentage would be fine and the trade volume would generate the revenues we need and we could repair our infrastructure. Instead, we have crumbling infrastructure, bad negotiations, bad crony contract deals, and we have festering social programs that need to be reformed. Shut it down, reform. I'm in favor of them. Absolutely. I am a liberal, not a staunch small government conservative. But I can point out we need to weed out the bloat. So let me just wrap this up. And then I want to show you some other crazy stuff that happened with the Democrats. As we're on this subject, Pete Buttigieg dropped out and I was like, I refuse to care about Pete Buttigieg. I said Buttigieg, exclamation point, dropping. I don't care, but I got to talk about it anyway. And apparently some protesters shut down a Klobuchar event. So we'll talk about the craziness of Democrats. But listen, if you make more than $100,000 a year and you got a tax cut, I don't care. Congratulations. You're going to get to spend money. If you're making less than $30,000 a year and your taxes went up, I do care about that. That I do not like. But I'm not going to blame the people because, we made it better for them because it's literally the left's argument. How about we cut taxes for the poor? Michael Bloomberg's the guy who wants to raise taxes on the poor. That's nuts. He says it's for their own good. You know what? So anyway, I think you get the point on that. Biden is a liar. And I'm going to quickly go through some of these next, quick stories just because I can give you a quick update. I'm not going to do a full segment on Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg. Oh, okay, I'll use his name. Pete Buttigieg drops out of the 2020 Democratic presidential primary ahead of Super Tuesday, and that's crazy. But it seems like they're trying to consolidate around Joe Biden, so that's the plan. Biden did really well in South Carolina. He got, 50 some odd delegates. So he's now, potentially going to be able to win. Unlikely, though. So a lot of people think that Buttigieg took a deal. Or it's possible he knew he cannot generate any support in the black community. So he knows he's not going to win, especially in, more diverse states. So he bails out while he still can. Not to mention, his campaign, as my understanding, wasn't raising enough money. So you got to realize a lot of people are saying he took a deal. No, I don't think so. I think the dude's broke, and I think he just knows he can't do it. The funny thing is, Klobuchar is still running. I don't know why. But Black Lives Matter protesters shut her rally down. And then the last thing I want to show you is this. No one is growing in the prediction model for 538. Who will win the primary for the Democrats? No one is now at 66%. The other day it was at 59%. So Bernie and Biden are close. Sanders is 1-5 to win. Biden is 1-8 to win. Bloomberg, Warren, everybody else has collapsed. They're not going to win at all. But this is going to go to a brokered convention. And the delegates are going to go to Joe Biden. That's where I think we're headed. But you get the point. They're lying about taxes. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.